to teach them how to document the experience of what they had been through in such a way that there would not be Rwandan denial. We'll talk in a little bit later about Holocaust denial, but they didn't want anybody to be able to deny what happened, so they wanted to document. And I was there before they buried the dead. Massive fields full of dead with kids walking around it and going on their way to school from even within their communities. The people in Rwanda, much to my surprise, I was in villages where people had never gone anywhere that they hadn't gone by leg, by their feet. Before cars, before buses, before trains, before trucks, but even before horses and mules. They walked. And you know who they wanted to meet? They wanted to meet not scholars, but they wanted to meet survivors because they wanted somebody who could tell them, how do you rebuild in the aftermath of destruction? How do you live among the people who just a moment ago slaughtered you and killed you? And how do you get the capacity to begin life again? And only the example of the life of survivors could instruct them and could give them the dimension, the way forward. So what we are is we are at and for our students, look, Holocaust survivors did not regard themselves as heroes. Number one, most of the heroes died. Everybody who survived had to struggle with the limitations of what you do in that situation, but they became symbols to our students of resilience. Not every defeat has to be final, and in the words of the old civil rights struggle, we can overcome. And they have overcome again and again and again. Okay, that's praise. Now remember, start worrying, letter to follow. I'm not worried about hardcore Holocaust denial. I'm worried about Ahmadinejad because I'm worried about him for a very basic reason, and let me direct it to you in a very peculiar way. There's an old Hasidic story. And to understand this Hasidic story, you have to go back to the time before they had Evian water. In the shtetl, the water supply was poisoned. Anybody who drank of the water went mad. They come to the Rebbe, they say, Rebbe, what are we going to do? If we don't drink of the water, we die. If we drink of the water, we go mad. The Rebbe took his gabbai and his shamas and he drew a mark on them and he said, you draw a mark on my head. And he turned to the community. He said, look at me and look at them and remember we're crazy. Because then go drink the water, but understand the worst thing in the world is to be crazy and not know you're crazy. Now, why do I say that? If you look at the record of Iran during the Holocaust, it's flawless. No pogroms, no persecution of Jews, no intolerance, no sense of Jews being afraid and fearful, no pogroms, nothing like even occurred next door in Iraq. And in fact, Iran was a way station of safety for people seeking refuge in Palestine. There was the children of Tehran who were rescued by the Iranian community and ultimately even by the Iranian Jewish community, but first by the Iranian community. Now I ask you a very simple proposition. Who should deny the Holocaust? President of Germany, whose country was the perpetrator of the president of Iran, whose country was humanistic. When we have the remarkable situation that the president of Iran denies the Holocaust, and the president of Germany said, we can't deny it, we have to admit it, that's the only way forward, The only way we can build our future with integrity, there's madness in this world. And when you have that type of denial in the sense of also the threats that occur with it, you get the sense that what we're dealing with is an infantile desire. If Israel is an outgrowth of the Holocaust, then no Holocaust, no Israel. Therefore, we say no Holocaust, and therefore, all of a sudden, Israel will disappear. The world is more complex. History is not going in that direction. But I want you to realize that when that happens, the world is crazy. And it's very dangerous for us not to recognize the craziness of this world. Second element. I've written in my work that one of the successes of this past generation has been to transform the Holocaust into the negative absolute of our society. We don't know what's good, we don't know what's bad, but everybody is absolutely convinced that the Holocaust was evil. And therefore, what we have today is we have a soft-core denial that comes in, and if the comparison to pornography is there, it's not accidental. We have a soft-core denial that comes in, which tries to make everything Nazism. There was a great thing on Jon Stewart the other night in which he went after one of the pundits on the right. I don't want to make this political. One of the pundits on the right who made everything into Nazi, couldn't avoid it. And all of a sudden we find everything becomes Nazi. If everything is Nazi, then nothing is Nazi. And consequently, you cannot begin to deal with it until you restrain the cheap analogies and the cheap comparisons. We have a problem of immigration. We have a problem in that the Arizona law has indicated. We have a problem of the violation of American values, but that's not going to make the United States of America into Nazi Germany. It's going to do many bad things, but not that. We have the cheap morphing of the President of the United States into Adolf Hitler. Now, if people on the right want to say that Obama did nothing to deserve the Nobel Peace Prize, we all can agree that he did nothing to deserve the analogy to Adolf Hitler. There have to be limits in how we disparage people. If communism doesn't work and socialism doesn't work, then Nazism can't work. We even had the calling of the attempt at providing people with guidance for the end of their life, Nazi medicine. Now, I've written on Nazi medicine. The first principle of the Nuremberg laws, the Nuremberg decision regarding the Nazi doctors, was something that you may not recall, but you all face every time you go into the hospital. The judges had to judge what the Nazi doctors did. And in order to do that, they enunciated 10 principles of moral ethics that are the touchstone, the foundation stone of our morality in medicine. The first principle is that a patient is entitled to be informed of their treatment and to consent to that treatment. And every time you sign a document in which your surgeon has told you what's about to happen to you, and you sign a document, you can in one say that is the exact opposite of the type of medicine that was practiced by the Nazis and deliberately established as such. So if you're meeting with your doctor at 65 and 70, and you're discussing what all of us should have, which is a medical directive, that is giving you the information that you need in order to have a role in determining what your fate will be. That is the opposite of Nazi medicine, and the comparison to Nazi medicine cheapens the word, cheapens the comparison, and defeats the very purpose of exalting our ethical discussion by demeaning it and diminishing it.